Hey friends, hope you did well. Well, in the times of AI, the question arises whether it's still required to learn SQL, so SQL code. Because of course, if we want to interact with databases in the world of today, we still need to, write some SQL code in order to get our responses. But the question is, what does the future look like? And of course, Microsoft and other big companies already create agents which allow us to transfer natural language into SQL code, and this SQL code is then sent to the database, and then we get a result. Now, of course, this is also problematic in a certain way. Of course, if you want to use it on private data, right? Then the question always arises, what about privacy and so on? And the idea is now in this project, in this little project here, to use an open source local large language model using Ollama and Python code, and then see whether we can also, replicate this in our local environment. And that's actually the case. And this project is not done completely, but let's start diving into it and see how it looks like. And of course, if you also are interested in the source code, let me know, then I will upload this to GitHub and provide you as well, of course. But now let's actually take a look. Now this is a Streamlit application, which means we have a simple Python web front end. It's called SQL generator, and then you can ask your natural language question in here. There's an example already, and then there's a generate SQL button which the user can click, and then basically the normal or natural language gets transferred into SQL code, right? And this SQL expression is then shown here. And there's also the available tables. This shows us, if I open this, this is actually all the available tables which are inside the SQL database. So you can see there are tables, and for each table we also see what kind of columns are there and what kind of data type the column has. Now, this is something I also included, and this is also something which will be provided to the large language model. Because remember, the prompt is everything. And the more information we give the large language model, the better it can interpret our natural language query here and produce the correct SQL query based on that. And that's why the idea is to feed in not only the query of the user, but also all the schemas and so on from the database. So meaning what kind of tables are in the database, what kind of columns do these tables have, and so on. And this is also displayed directly in here. So I also included this in here. And now let's actually have a look. Now I have a local SQL server, so a SQL server running in here, which is this one here. And this server has a database called Power BI database, and then certain tables inside here, right? And if you want to query these tables, of course you would have to write some kind of select something statement. Filter, also where and something, right? Or group by something and so on. So that's of course the normal way, but we don't want to write SQL code. Of course, it might be quite complex, so that's why we decide to go with the large language model and let it do the work for us. So the database is running, and now of course I can enter here a prompt, and let's try that. Let's give this a go. I just paste this inside. So how many suppliers come from the country US, because I have a suppliers table in my database, and then I just generate the SQL code, click on generate, and that you can see that there's a select count star from supplier table where country equals US. So this seems to work. That looks pretty good. So I could now copy this. Here also included a copy SQL button, so the user can click here and then use the database and paste it in there and just run the script. Of course, as I said, this project is not done because normally I would like actually to have the LLM then take this created SQL script, then send it to the database, and of course then get the result back and then only display the result. So there's no user interaction like copy and paste the script as well, right? But as I said, it's just a work in progress, and I just wanted to show you how that basically works. And now let's also have a quick sneak preview in the code itself. So let me just open Visual Studio Code here. Just give me just a second. Here it is. And as you can see here, there are certain kinds of, Python files, but the main one is the app.py file. In the app.py file, and here, let me just make this bigger a little bit. So that's basically how it works. So this is just the interface itself, right? So we have a connection string, in this case, to my database, which is this one here. You can see here, that's the Power BI database. And then I have here certain kinds of variables in the session state, which I also store, which is here, for instance, by get schema info, the schema information from the database. So I only query this once, and then I give it to the large language model. And during the session, while the user is interacting and asking SQL queries, then always the same schema is used, right? So we don't have to query this each time. And then we have a text area and also this button where we can send then the generate SQL code and so on. So that's basically the default here, and then the expander, which shows all the tables as you've seen before. And the idea is that we also have the database itself. The query to the database is based on SQL Alchemy, and then we also have the LLM. So that's interesting here, of course, because here we have two things, at least, or the first, the prompt itself, which is important. As you can see here, that we have here generate T-SQL, which I said, based on the query, and also we provide also as an variable here, the schema context. So that's also part of the original prompt, which you can see here, right? And you have certain rules, which is also good just to well, steer the LLM in the right direction so it does not create something weird or add additional information which you don't like to have. And the interesting part here is that, as you can see here, I'm using Olama. So it's an open source. I'm using here Qwen 2.5 to be exact, but I'm using a local model. So there is no data which is going to any kind of third-party provider or to the internet. This is completely local, so it's private, and I can securely ask any kind of query to my database without leaking any information. So that's it for this video. So hopefully it's interesting to you. As I said, it is work in progress. Of course, it's not perfect and there has to be some additional things to be made. But still, I think it's quite interesting that we can copy this completely local. And as I said, if you want this, just let me know and I will upload this, of course, also to the GitHub repository. So thanks a lot for watching. If you haven't done so far, please give this video a like and also please subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot, take care, and see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.